Hi YouTube, this is Vitaly. I'm Ukrainian living in Budapest, Hungary, and welcome to my channel Vid42, where I share my experience about tech that I personally use, as well as some tips and tricks that works for me and hopefully will be useful for you guys. This is my first video online. I decided to dedicate it to my light gaming setup with M1 MacBook Pro that I recently bought. Let's get started. Being hooked on an Apple ecosystem, I'm a macOS user but also a game addict with some serious hours in Dota 2 and other titles. While I prefer gaming on my Xbox, there are still some Steam titles like Dota 2 that are not available anywhere else except Steam. So no workarounds here. You have to use Boot Camp if you are a Mac user to get the most out of your experience, or deal with versions of Steam titles for macOS which are frankly speaking far from ideal. While going this route, I experienced far more crashes, sound and video issues than through Boot Camp. This autumn was quite big for Apple. The introduction of their M1 Silicon with super efficient watt-to-power ratios. It's worth mentioning that while it's all good on paper and in tests, if you are a heavy gamer and the console gaming is not your thing, something like MacBook Pro 16 with Radeon graphics will still be a superior choice for you guys, at least until next generation of Apple Silicon comes out. It may come out with improved integrated graphics performance, which according to the latest rumors is expected to be on par with some entry-level gaming dedicated graphics from AMD and Nvidia. We will see what 2021 has to offer. Definitely an exciting year for tech industry. I personally can't wait for the next announcement from the big guys at AMD and Intel. Especially Intel, this lazy giant has to wake up and come back with their reply to AMD and now Apple. Time is not on their side and the risk is real. These guys risk to join the cemetery of big corporations of the past like 3DFX, for those who remember, Kodak, Nokia and other smart businesses that thought that controlled evolution with limited innovations was a good idea to maximize profits and live happily ever after. Coming back to gaming, being a light title gamer, I am actually fine with M1 bringing down graphical settings to medium or low. Having stable 40 to 60 frames per second is a comfortable priority for me, leaving all the ray tracing goodness for next-gen consoles, gaming on a couch in front of the TV. I was genuinely interested to push the limits of gaming capabilities of M1 in desktop mode in native 3860 by 1600 resolution, and I hooked my MacBook Pro with 8 gigs of RAM to LG 38-inch Ultrawide via USB-C. This LG model supports 75 Hz and provides up to 60 watt of power delivery to the laptop, which in case of M1 is modern enough to handle all the tasks which you throw at it. In addition, you have a USB hub built in consisting of 2 USB-A ports for connection of your peripherals directly to the monitor, keeping your table super clean, free of wires, using a single USB cable in the whole setup. Using Magic Keyboard is not the best solution for hardcore competitive gaming, but I find this latency totally fine for light occasional sessions. I find mouse input and audio is more important to improve overall experience, so that's why I utilize 2 USB-A ports on the back of my display for connection. One for my Logitech G Pro mouse adapter and the other for HyperX Cloud wireless headset adapter. Both have proprietary wireless connections which are quite good, on par with some wired solutions from my experience. So there you go in terms of setup. Now let's have a look at what you can achieve in terms of ultrawide 21:9 gaming, particularly in Dota 2 in native 3860 by 1600 resolution. Having seen the graphical tests of M1 on YouTube, I was quite skeptical about the idea, and it was a bit shocking to me that I managed to pull that off comfortably. I'm on macOS Big Sur 11.1 and I'm not using any hardware tweaks or software tweaks except for the fan speed management. I found Big Sur built-in thermal management for M1 a bit skewed toward marketing honestly, prioritizing noise levels over working temperatures, which is fine for short bursts of peak performance in most use case scenarios. And this is still enough to outperform competition, providing solid user experience. So still a nice compromise, and I can see why Apple did that. However, during 30 to 60 minutes gaming sessions, consistency is very important. You don't want to experience stutters as you progress in game, and fights become more intense when players get access to superior items and spells. Late game is normally more hardware demanding than the beginning, so advanced thermal management is critical. For this purpose, I use TG Pro app with CPU fan management tweak, a pretty simple manual profile with complete override of system settings with linear increase in fan speed as CPU temperatures rise. Works quite well. During gaming, temperatures rarely climb higher than 60 to 70 degrees, with fan RPM around 2000 to 4000 mark. This is still super quiet because the fan is small and well engineered. I cannot hear the fan until I put my ear right next to it, so it's totally fine. That is the only system tweak now. Let's check the game settings. Very simple, everything on low except for the textures. This setting is on medium because, quite frankly, low textures look unpleasing at 4K. Even a bit higher frame rates cannot justify this, at least to my taste. Compute shaders are on, VSync is on as well. I find the experience and log 60 frames much smoother than utilizing 75 Hz of the monitor, squeezing out over 75 FPS, sometimes at the cost of more intensive heat output and performance stability due to CPU throttling. I tested performance on gaming sessions involving real opponents with real MMR games, climbing the ladder, so it's worth mentioning that gaming with bots allow to achieve much better performance. But for most gamers out there, such test is irrelevant, so I will not focus on that. So the real deal, I'm able to get around 60 FPS at most times in 4K ultrawide, with some drops to around 35 FPS during intensive fights, which is for the basic $1,300 device is quite impressive. There are a few things that can massively affect the gaming experience. First advice is to obviously close all open programs that are currently running in the background. From my experience, thermals are much better in this case, as well as memory management, of course. Secondly, exclusive full screen mode is providing slightly crispier video output on external display and further optimizes performance. You will not be able to option tab to the desktop, but I still highly advise to go with exclusive full screen nonetheless. Those tiny 8 gigs of RAM will be quite grateful to you and will try to do their best to optimize your user experience. Lastly, it may sound obvious, but not so many people actually realize that you should skip all the alternative textures in the game. Terrain, weather effects, creeps, towers. Go with the standard models. I cannot stress it more, the difference on low-end systems is huge. Check out the graphs. It really can change the game performance from unplayable to appropriate. So a sacrifice well worth making, in my opinion. Okay guys, so that's all for the video. I hope it was useful. I hope more people will get into gaming on Macs. Seriously, haven't seen what this tiny computer can do at 4K. I'm pretty confident the future Apple Silicon Desktop 5K iMacs will be able to deal with all that pixels easily. Can't wait what 2021 will bring to us. Stay safe, stay healthy. Cheers!